Welcome to the Film Illogical Society, brought to you by Redacted Media and 6.5 Media. In today's episode, we look at another one of the essentials. And now, here are your hosts, Schulz and T.C. Witt.
All right, and welcome back to the Film Illogical Society, the Essential Show, where we talk about the films that essentially are very important. That's it, right, TC?
That's essentially the idea of the Essential Show, yes.
Yeah. No, the essentials are the films that TC and I, we are films that either we have seen when we were studying or we have talked about and have never seen. So films like Seven Samurai, films like Rebel Without a Cause, those films that are in pop culture everywhere or have inspired so many other films that we have to see and we have to talk about.
Right. That to truly have a full filmic lexicon, we need to see these films to really be able to speak of cinema in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah. So the last couple films that we covered were a little bit more gangster, bloody-ish.
Violent.
So violent. So we got away from that to a film that actually shows no violence.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to review the 1962 film To Kill a Mockingbird.
Mockingbird. Classic literature turned into classic film starring classic actor.
Gregory Peck.
Yep.
Yeah, Gregory Peck. And this is a controversial book, controversial film. In many circles, it's talked about being banned. Both the book and the film, and we'll get into that because that's an important part of this. But this book and film are often talked about as like one of the first like courtroom lawyer dramas. Atticus Finch is considered one of the biggest heroes in screen history.
Yes, and I can see why
even
now.
higher than like a Superman and a Batman and all that, who you consider to be heroes. Atticus Finch is considered number one by the American Film Institute.
No, I approve this on many ways because wow, what a monument of humanity, the best we could possibly ask for, right?
Yeah, and we'll touch a little bit on the book as well, and the follow up because the Harper Lee, the author, she only put out 2 novels as far as I know, To Kill a Mockingbird, and then right before she died, she another one was published, and we'll talk about that because I think it's important. As I researched that a little bit more. The book and just the perception that people had, like it just, there's a very telling, I think, theme that still hits today between those books.
Oh, 100%, yes.
All right.
So much so the themes the themes being what they are so poignant even to this day that despite watching, I had myself a little mini movie marathon for several movies I had to watch. This one choked me up, teared me up. It's the impact of this film and this story still resonates so hard today. And that's almost sad. That is sad that the message of this movie still resonates today.
Well, and I think there are films that kind of hit the same vein that are still made, like A Time to Kill is also based on a novel, but it's a very similar theme to this film, but much more in the modern day and much more in the courtroom. But it's like you said, unfortunately, we're not watching a film made today that takes place in the 1950s. We're watching films today that are still in the courtroom, that are still going through the same issues, and we're seeing it on TV. We're seeing it everywhere. And it's sad. So I will say, One thing I did not know, this was Robert Duvall's first film.
Where the heck was Robert Duvall in this?
His
I don't
film-
even remember seeing him.
He was Boo Radley.
What? That's Robert Duvall? Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize.
That's Robert Duvall,
Holy
yeah.
cow. That's incredible. Well, funny, he has no lines.
He has no lines at all. This is his first film. He was a stage actor
Sure.
before, and he was pulled out, but he to prepare for the role of Boo Radley, like I think this speaks to Robert Duvall. He's going into a movie, he's got no lines. He knows he has no lines. He obviously has an important part in it, but he stayed out of the sun for 6 weeks, dyed his hair blonde, and he kind of just didn't eat so well. Probably the character that it was based on probably had a little bit of albinoism in him.
Especially being locked away in that cabin all the time.
Yeah, locked away in the cabin and couldn't bear the sun and all that. So, but yeah, so Robert Duvall, who later would play so many critical roles in Godfather's movies, he did everything. One of my favorite actors, and to see him start here is pretty amazing.
That's incredible. Wow. Since you brought up actors, I just want to put it out there. These are some of the greatest kid actors I've ever seen. How do child actors now suck so hard? And those little kids in this are so damn good. They're so good.
Yeah, they and they despise each other like brother and sister
in real life.
Too. in like while they were acting, like they would purposefully make each other like mess up in the background, so they had to keep redoing a scene. The son, Philip Alford, he grew to hate like bacon and eggs.
Because how many takes they had to do.
Because he had to eat that over and over and over again.
Oh, they're so good. Like the little girl playing Scout is just adorable as hell.
Well, and she had memorized everyone's lines.
That's incredible.
So there are points that you can see her in the film where someone like Gregory Peck is going or her brother's going, and she's mouthing the lines.
Wow, I did not catch that. That's amazing.
Because she like in her head, like she needs to do all that to get her lines.
Mm-hmm. Well worth it because they are so adorable.
They're really good there. And Mary Badham, the actress who played Scout, she and Gregory Peck remained very close until his death.
Oh, that's very sweet. I love that.
So far as she called him Atticus and he called her Scout.
Oh, I love that. I love hearing that about how tightly knit certain relationships are that just echo through the rest of people's lives in careers. Like Bryan Cranston and Frankie Muniz still have a very close relationship. Or
even though Frankie Muniz does not remember.
We don't have to get into rumor mill here, but that's not true. Actually, that's actually not true. Anyway, or like Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio still have a very close relationship, like that sort of stuff.
So, have you seen many Gregory Peck films?
I don't think I have. I don't know if I have seen any Gregory Peck films. None come to mind. Is he in North by Northwest? Okay,
nope.
That's Cary Grant.
That's Cary Grant.
See, there's my. I know he's not an Arsenical Lace. I know that's Cary Grant as well. So no, I don't think I know of any Gregory Peck.
So he was in the 1991 version of Cape Fear, which. That may be one that you watched.
I've only
like he is obviously a very acclaimed actor, a classic actor. He was in the original Cape Fear as well.
He's a legend of Hollywood, and obviously I can identify him just by sight. In fact, I can identify Atticus Finch on sight for how iconic the role is. Even going so far as in the movie Vanilla Sky, Tom Cruise's character sort of creates his own reality, and Kurt Russell plays a very Gregory Peck, Atticus Finch looking character. And I remember seeing that in 99 or 2000 when that came out and thinking, boy, he's he sure is a creation of and then that's the deliberate. He is supposed to be Atticus Finch. So even not having seen this movie or knowing Gregory Peck other than by visuals of him in this role, I could still identify someone mimicking him deliberately.
Yeah, it's, and I think too, like his performance as a lawyer in court, that's the classic, like that is now how basically all lawyers act.
Every lawyer wants to be Atticus Finch.
Every lawyer.
No doubt. And man, kudos to him. He crushed that monologue without cutting the whole final statements. I think they cut very, very, very much at the very, very end of his monologue before he says, do your duty. Like that's they didn't cut it. It was like it was just this continuous, and he's so compelling to look at. There's no surprise that every lawyer wants to be Atticus Finch from this point on.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I don't think I've seen anything with him in it really, like where he's starring. And it was just amazing to watch him because I'd seen him more as an older actor. He's got the white hair, white mustache. So to see him in this classic look and classic, it was an amazing performance, and he really carried it because you really needed a strong actor to take this role.
Yeah, he is Superman. Just his stature, he's this larger than life human being. He's so calm and gentle and powerful at the same time. Not just Gregory Peck's performance, but Atticus himself is such an incredible. I said it earlier. He's this monument of what we wish humanity was. Like, I wish there were more men like him, men who serve justice, who do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. This tower of masculinity without being toxic, right? When you look at what people consider manliness today, a lot of the social standards of what is ultimately toxic masculinity, and then you look at someone like Atticus Finch, particularly played by Gregory Peck here. That's a man. That is a man right there. That is a human to admire and want to live up to. And a lot of what he is against masculinity. He doesn't throw a punch. He doesn't rise. He doesn't even he wipes his cheek after he's been spit on. He doesn't even lose his cool when you can so clearly see how sad he is. He clenches his fists and he sort of punches the air and he says, I just need a minute. And he is raising Jim and Scout to be good, truly good people. Even Jim knowing, Dad, I'm not going to let you go alone. I'm coming with you. At first he asks, can I come with you? No, I don't want you to. Dad, or Atticus, I'm coming with you. This little 12-year-old kid, that's incredible.
And just like you said, like he doesn't, his anger, he controls his anger. He keeps that in. You know he's angry. You know he's frustrated. You know he's upset. You know what he wants to do. But yeah, this is a film from the 50s that shows a dad whose wife had passed away. So he's a widower. And he has help raising the kids. But for the most part, he's on his own, like raising these kids. I think he's got like a neighbor that helps, and then there's also some in-house help that comes in. Sure. But yeah, it's
admirable to see someone presented like this, someone who as a fictional character that has withstood the test of time, that people still to this day want to mimic. He's a single father. He reads to his daughter every night when he tucks her into bed. Even with the help he has, he's not someone who's like, you can see modern family films where it's like, oh, the dad works so much he ignores the kids, and that's the problem. This is a guy who works his butt off for his town, and he still can raise his kids.
But it's also 1950s, and I know from like my personal family history, like when in cases of divorce or whatnot, like giving custody to the father alone was not done. That was like extremely rare cases.
Even with the wife passing away?
with the wife passing away, like I think there could be circumstances that were looked at that we need to there needs to be a woman's influence there. The woman needs to take care of the kids. That's not a man's job to do. But again, this film showed he was raising his kids and he was doing it well.
Yeah. And so you bring up the kids here. It's worth mentioning that this is a child's perspective. This movie is told from Scout's perspective. She's an older woman looking back at her formative couple summers of her life. And this is so well crafted up into the courtroom, right? We see when the courtroom stuff starts playing out, we're very much on the floor and Gregory Peck's like, give me an Oscar. But up to that point, this movie's shown through Jim and Scout's perspective really well. The camera stays low with them. The events that unfold are seen from their perspective, so we don't get to see or hear certain adult things taking place because they're distant to it. And for film, I can see something like Belfast, which just came out as of this recording, came out and it's up for an Oscar. Belfast is so clearly inspired by To Kill a Mockingbird, right down to being black and white, being from a kid's perspective. But whereas Belfast is more a perspective, a look at Ireland in that time period and how it crushes a people as well as a family. And it's very dark and sad. And even from a kid's perspective, you just sort of feel morose watching the whole thing. There is a lightness to the perspective in To Kill a Mockingbird here that I think a lot of kid perspective dramas have attempted to achieve ever since. This is completely just not even acknowledging the courtroom stuff that we've already touched on, but just as a film that tells a story from a kid's perspective. I see Stand By Me in here. I even see A Christmas Story in here. I see a lot of Spielberg and Christopher Columbus type things in here.
Yeah, honestly, not having seen this film before, but seeing stills or scenes from it, like I was not expecting 3/4 of the film to be about the kids running around
right
their neighborhood.
Yeah, I expect this whole thing to be a courtroom drama, but it's not.
Right, like I think in the first 10 minutes, like Atticus is given this case, and then he's off working the case.
The kids,
he's not,
and the kids are experiencing their summer together, and that's so
they're doing their thing.
This is so incredible in telling this film from this perspective, that the book is from this perspective as well, that what the kids are privy to, what she remembers in her retelling of this, is such this efficient, no fat storytelling. It's just enough information that you totally understand the case by the time we hit the courtroom. There's no question about what this is about or what happened. You get the details once you're in it, but the piecemeal way his work and this case infiltrates those children's lives is such a masterclass of book to script to screen. And impressively so. And I think more filmmakers should take note of that in that regard, not just in a film that tells a story of a kid's perspective or a courtroom drama, but just in general. Never hurts to trim the fat down to the essentials.
I mean, I think especially when you have a story such as this, that you don't necessarily want a director that's going to want to take the film in her or his own mind's direction. Like, oh, that's good, but what if we do this instead?
What if as he's telling it, we flash back and see it? And then we rush him on this and we see it from different perspectives. That's a different movie. That's not this movie.
Yeah, because this movie, like you are like there is a clear innocence.
Yes,
you're with those kids, and then at the end when the world collapses on Atticus and Tom Robinson and his family, like that innocence is lost. This is a coming of age type of film. where it's not, a bunch of guys trying to lose their virginity. It's an actual loss of innocence. I know. Let's go, and I know we've touched on a lot of this, but a little bit of the story. There's always spoilers in here because this movie is 60, 70
few decades old.
So yeah, if you haven't seen it, like we hadn't, like I would say to see it even with this synopsis.
Oh, certainly.
But
yeah.
Atticus Finch. So in Alabama, he is a lawyer in the Depression era. So there's not a lot of wealth. It's a very small town, and he's raising his two kids. Jem, his son, and then 4 years younger than Jem is his daughter, Scout, who is very much the tomboy. She hates wearing dresses. She has to wear pants. Like she's, yeah. And like we said, like 3/4 of the story is about these kids and what they're doing. There's this house that contains the meanest man in town.
Stay away from him.
Stay away from him because he locks his son up and chained inside. He doesn't come out until night, and watch out for him, just like kids do, right? They create stories, they use their imagination and create boogeymen, basically. And yeah, then you see them go through school, you see the them kind of age, and while that's going on, if you want to tell a little bit of
Atticus is given a case of an assault, and specifically a black man who allegedly assaulted a white woman, a young white woman. And Atticus is given the case to defend Tom, much to the chagrin of several racist Alabamans in this community, or like who call him the lover of a certain N-word I would never say. But he's a man who's sworn to uphold the law and defend those who are defenseless, and he takes on this case. And the trial comes to be the kids, who are deeply fascinated in what their dad does, go and sit up in the upper deck of the courtroom to witness the trial, and
they snuck in. Yeah. To watch him because
it's very
Atticus is trying to protect his kids from this.
Yeah, Atticus doesn't want them to lose their innocence. He wants them to hold on as long as they can. They've already lost their mother, Jem, more than Scout doesn't even remember. But and then the trial unfolds, and we get to see a very subtle, very nuanced, very nice way to present evidence without having these shocking dun dun dun, but you're left-handed, right? It's this very controlled courtroom drama that unfolds over the course of a third of the film, and ultimately we get to see the verdict. And I'm not going to, actually don't think I want to spoil this. I know this movie is as old as can be. Most people have read this book, and maybe people have already seen this movie. But if you actually haven't, if you don't know this, it's riveting. For this movie being what it is, you love and appreciate these characters as they unfold, and as the drama unfolds itself, it's riveting. So I don't want to go beyond that, but you do get to see the trial play out and the end results of that. And the year of Scout's life ends with these experiences culminating into her coming of age. It's very good, dude. Like we usually like. There's no hiding how much I like this movie. This is.
No, you're getting terrible at that. Can read you like a book.
Well, not a banned book, because let's segue into that real quick. So this, you want to wait?
Well,
right, okay.
No, let's slow down. Slow your horses. We're actually now actually would be a good time before we get into that. I'll give a small teaser, then we'll get into the break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about banned books. So Walt Disney, upon seeing this film, lamented and said, "That's the kind of film I wish I could make."
Wow. Well, that's amazing.
He he felt that, he was stymied creatively because he had to do family comedies and more family-friendly films. So he didn't find that fulfilling project until he did Mary Poppins.
Oh, okay. Well, Mary Poppins.
But he felt he could do
Sure.
something.
And Mary Poppins went on to get nominated for Oscars, and there is a nice family coming of age story amongst the silliness of Mary Poppins. So that's incredible. Like someone like the legend of Walt Disney being like, man, I wish I could have made To Kill a Mockingbird. I guess I got to make more.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it completely is outside of.
I got to make more singing rodents.
All right, so now would be a good time for us to take a break. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Hey there, podcast listeners. I am David.
And I'm Kate.
And together we host a podcast that you might be interested in if you like The Legend of Zelda.
There are lots of awesome podcasts out there and a lot of awesome Zelda podcasts out there.
That's right, Kate, and we are another one of them. In fact, that is the name of our show, Another Zelda Podcast.
And in our show in particular, we talk about some of our favorite dungeons, characters, boss battles. We do a couple top 10 lists here and there.
We have some deep dive episodes, and we even pepper in a couple quiz episodes.
We talk about our own experiences. We do some review episodes, talk about our challenges, our struggles, and our victories.
That's right. If it has to do with The Legend of Zelda, we talk about it.
You can check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a lot of the other podcast services that are out there.
And you can also check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
All right, we will see you there.
Okay, bye.
Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Mike.
And we are brothers-in-law. We both love beer and are amateur home brewers.
Wait, so does that make us brothers-in-law?
I believe so.
Every episode, we will talk about aspects of beer and home brewing.
But nothing super technical because we're learning this too.
So join us as we sit down together and dive into something beer-related.
Whether it's a little field research, tasting a certain beer style, or beers from a specific brewery,
talk about our experiences brewing beer at home, including our own solo brews, as well as themed competitions we'll set up along the way.
We will also talk about some of our favorite aspects of brewing, like hops, extra ingredients, building our brew cave, and more. And of course, our own misadventures that have happened along the way.
So, if you like beer, are home brewing already,
or if you have an interest in home brewing and don't know where to start,
join us on Brothers-in-Law Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And make sure to follow us on Twitter at Brothers-in-Law and check out our website, brothersinlaw.com.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, TC, what are you trying to do?
Well, I got all these books to burn, but I just can't get them to light.
Well, that's because you aren't using Little Nero's fire starter kit, which brings Vulcan's flames to whatever you're trying to burn. Here, try this.
Whoa, look at that bright flame. Those books are gone already. The fire is actually spreading.
That's right. Whenever you need something to burn, trust Little Nero's fire starter kit. When you want to burn Rome, trust Little Nero.
It's really getting out of hand over here.
That's right. And for all of our listeners, if you use the code Illogical in your order, you'll get a free fiddle. Thanks to that sponsor, Little Nero's Fire Starter Kit.
I love our sponsors for each episode. That might be one of my favorites so far. I'm so glad that we could do that copy for them.
Yeah, it's nice.
Burning books.
Burning books, yeah. It's a good segue. I don't know if they like... I am not a fan of burning books. I'm sorry if that hurts. We're probably not going to get Little Nero's sponsor.
We just lost a sponsor.
I'm not a fan of it, I'll say. Yeah, so this is a book. When you look at, why books should be banned, like you look that up and people will, put out reasoning. And a lot of like the for some reason it's happening in Tennessee a lot. Because the book contains profanity, contains adult themes such as sexual intercourse, rape, and incest. There's also racial slurs, promotes racial hatred, racial division, racial separation, and promotes white supremacy.
Huh. Okay. Now, are you saying those are reasons? Those are reasons why this book was burned?
Banned and burned.
Okay. This is okay. No hero, no good guys in the history are ever the ones who banned books. Okay, and typically the ones banning the books are the ones uncomfortable by the things being presented. I'm not saying like all books are innocent or all books are guilty, but something like this, which is so clearly one of the greatest American novels, one of the greatest pieces of English literature. When you have an organization or a group of people who are trying to ban it, they are clearly trying to hide something or ashamed of something. And this goes to of recently, and one of the reasons this movie was even picked is banning a book like Mouse, which is this wonderful biography about the surviving of Auschwitz and the Holocaust. And to ban a book like that for seemingly ridiculous reasons, it just goes to show the sort of enemy of enlightenment that it still exists to this day. It's incredible to me.
Yeah. I just know, like, growing up and you learn about different cultures, fascist cultures mostly, and all that, like, the book burning, like, I think of the scene from Indiana Jones.
Yeah. The piles, the mountains of bonfire burning.
The piles of books. And it's like, those are the people that burn books. Those are the bad guys.
Yeah, banning,
and then to see
banning material for certain reasons. Like I understand having like a really illicit material. When you look at something like Clockwork Orange, which we've addressed as well, which has also been a movie as well as a book that's been restricted, not necessarily banned, but restricted, because you don't want a 6-year-old, not 6-year-old, like a 10-year-old reading something like a Clockwork Orange, right? But something like this or Mark Twain, which deals with race relations in America on a very real level, that's something that should be taught in school. Like, let us use this as a way to have allegory and parallels to what we went through as a country. Banning something like Harry Potter because it promotes witchcraft is insane. Because what? Have you even read this thing? Do you know?
I mean, to be honest, I'm still waiting for my owl to come.
I'm afraid that thing may never come, dude. I'm sorry.
Well, I just, I think it's like shoe sizes, right? Like you age differently in Britain than you do here. So like, in Britain they have to be 11. Maybe it's a little bit older.
A couple
here.
decades older.
So that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. We don't have to be exact on things here because it's I don't want to date this.
Sure. No one needs to know much more detail than that. Yeah. I'm curious. You had mentioned that this movie was also banned. Is it just for the same type of reasons that the book was banned? Same type of reasons,
yeah. That the use of language. There's not so in the court case. I won't give away the ending that you wanted to avoid, but I will say that the girl's father was most likely raping and beating his daughter.
Yeah. And I wouldn't put it past him to have a bed sheet with some holes in the eyes for eyes. I wouldn't.
Right. Yeah. And no pointy cap. And when she got upset that she was turned down basically by Tom Robinson, a neighbor who was African American, she got angry and told her dad that this is what happened. And again, he beat her because of it. And then they all called the cops and blamed it
on the black man. Yeah.
On the black man. Mm-hmm. And that's the that's the premise of the case. Atticus proved without a doubt basically that it couldn't have been, that basically he proved without a doubt, but it was a jury of 12 white men to do this. So yeah, I think a lot of the current themes that are echoing in society, in some places in society, are, we don't want any, whether it be books, movies, whatever, that make people feel bad.
Oh, well, but it's so funny that the ones who do this, the ones who are like banning stuff, and like they're the ones who call others snowflakes. But how small do you need to be as a human being to be offended by history? Come on, that says everything about the person trying to. This is gonna make people feel bad. No, people should feel bad. This is the reason I mentioned up top that this movie got to me, that I choked up, that I cried, is that it's still so resonant to this day. This idea, the accusations, how a community treats certain people for the choices they make in regards to race relations, it's still true to this day, and that's disgusting and horrible and crushes me, and is absolutely worth looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think, I feel that one benefit of looking at history, and, obviously history is written, there's perspective in history, and typically it's history is written by the victor, right? By the group that wins.
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot about the areas that Rome conquered. You hear about Rome. But when you look at stories like this and you look at what's going on today, it's just, to me, it's like we're not learning as a society. We're not learning. We're not growing.
It's like some people didn't read To
And
Kill a
it's sad.
Mockingbird when they were in high school or middle school.
Or see the movie because they were too lazy to read it.
Yeah, and see
It was out. It was out.
And to bring this back to cinema, to bring back to the essential quality of a film like this, to be able to tell a story like this so well, and you can see, I've mentioned Belfast, you see something like A Christmas Story, which does the childlike perspective coming of age story really well. This is a movie worth watching for how that's crafted, how to address something so heavy, so weighty, so true to real life, to find a way to talk about that in film. Another movie that I would compare this to is Jojo Rabbit, which tells a very heavy, dark look, a dark time period, the Holocaust, the suffering of the Jewish people in the Holocaust, but to show it through a little German boy's perspective so masterfully is on the level of something like To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel that this is the type of film where there's such good discussion after the film, right? Like if you showed this to a group of kids that are equivalent to Scout and Jem's age or a little bit older, and then you can sit them down and talk to them about what is going, what happened, what did you guys think of this, what did you think of that, and just get that conversation going.
Sure. Ask the questions, because even Scout herself asks questions of Atticus, and in very innocent, childlike ways that he's able to find the right way to talk to her about it. And another thing this does is you're right, that this is a way to open up a conversation with younger, innocent minds. I like when the two kids are falling asleep and Scout says, Jim, how old was I when mommy died? Was she beautiful? Did you love her? Did I love her? Like, just these really innocent questions. And an older brother, even as innocent as he is, just that slight more age he has on her, to be able to help have that conversation with her, I think is quite beautiful. So you being a father of two, a Scout and a Jim yourself, I could see, I'm certain you related to this, at least in that regard, to be wishing you were as great as Gregory Peck as a father.
Well, and not wanting to deal with those questions. I can tell you that much. Like it's scary. That's one of the scariest parts is all the questions that they'll have that I need to figure out an answer to, that, strikes the right balance of telling them the truth, but doesn't shy away from things, and again, talk to them about, I would love it to be able to be like, well, when this film was made or when this book was written, this is what was going on. Now we're in a different place because of this, and this. Again,
barely
hitting this. So,
but like, you could take something like, say, The Lion King, and use that to have a discussion about death, and then you could upgrade them with film and whatnot to go to something like a little more maturity. You want to get more to Jem's age of 10 to 12. And if you can find a kid who's willing to sit through something like this and be engaged by it for educational purposes, it's a good entry point to discuss American history, specifically this type of American history.
Well, I think one thing that is interesting with this film, I don't know if you saw on the poster at all, but there is a large black circle on it. That's even though the book is the movie poster is an open book with To Kill a Mockingbird, Gregory Peck, and then you have a picture of the two kids hanging on their dad, and then on the bottom corner there's a big black circle that says "not suitable for children." So this is before the rating system came out.
Yeah. And no, I certainly wouldn't show this to a 6-year-old, because a 6-year-old won't be able to sit through it nor comprehend it. There's very much the fact that the true perspective of this is a woman looking back at the most formative summer of her life, the formative year of her life. But yeah, you get into like that 12-year-old territory, the age where you could assign books to read and understand and have a conversation about like writing book reports and whatnot, right? You're not doing that with a kindergartner. You're not doing that with like a third grader. But, you start getting 4th, 5th grade, particularly beyond 5th grade. I think this movie is perfect for educational purposes. It's entertaining, but it's black and white. It's going to be boring. If you raise a kid a certain way who's willing to learn from books and television and film, this is something that would work really well and worth watching many times, because even looking at it at this point in my life, there's still those pointed things to consider, perspectives of different races and whatnot. And it elicited a lot of thoughts in my head of things I'd love to discuss with someone I'd love a black perspective look at this film. And I look forward to opening that conversation with friends of a different culture than me, and get their understanding and perspective of the conversation this film elicits. You get them babbling out here.
Yeah. It's so I on the other podcast, one of the other podcasts that I do in this series, we're reviewing the comedy films, and one thing that I struggle with at times is being able to discuss meaningfully anything in those films. They're good films, but there's not a lot that you can really like talk about. You can talk about the actors and kind of what they did, but it's not, versus this type of film and a lot of these in the Essential series, there's just so much to talk about, and in good ways. Like this is, I felt this way with A Time to Kill. When I first saw that, I believe I was in college, and I've never been drawn, especially at that age, never was drawn to like courtroom dramas. Like it just never, like that wasn't a genre that really interested me at all. But I remember being drawn into that film and just watching it and just shocked at how the film carried through. And this one, same. Like, and more so just knowing everything else that is behind this film.
Yeah. And the compelling nature of a courtroom drama, you get more, you can't handle the truth moments of this
that
area
don't
of cinema.
happen in court. Yeah. I think if you talk to lawyers, if you talk to students and professors, and like, this film is probably much like to how things are actually when there is arguing done. Versus
the
like
blow.
having that aha moment, especially considering you can't bring in evidence and the defendant doesn't have a chance to see the evidence first.
I got my defense ready here. No, there's excuse me. There's to look at this as a piece of cinema and what it has done for storytelling through cinema, particularly courtroom stuff and whatnot. This is an essential. This is 100% something that is worth watching to see how to craft an intriguing, tense, suspenseful story without relying on aha and shouting and fist pounding.
Yeah. Yep.
There's an old phrase, an old adage that lawyers say: when you have the facts, pound on the facts. And when you don't have the facts, you pound on the table. And I think from a filmic perspective, when you have a compelling character presenting a very compelling case, you don't need to pound on the table. You can just let the character, you can let Gregory Peck talk for 6 minutes without cutting, and you do not take your eyes off of him. You don't not need Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise screaming at each other. Not to knock A Few Good Men. It's a good movie in its own right. But the quiet nature of Atticus presenting the quiet nature of something so serious is portrayed on the screen so beautifully.
Yes, and so one of the advantages of being able to make a film, in the same, within a couple of years of the book coming out, is that the author can be there and help. Not necessarily, write the screenplay or anything like that, but can be there as a consultant.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
For not only, the director and the set designers and all that, but for the actors as well. And so Harper Lee, she, there's a couple things with this. Look, so when she was watching, she'd be on set, and she would watch Gregory Peck perform a scene, and there's a story of Peck noticed her crying after one of the scene, and he kind of asked her, what's, is everything okay?
Did I do that badly?
Okay. Yeah. Was I that bad? And she responded to Peck to saying he looked just like her late father. He was acting just like her father was. Even down to the little round stomach, just like her father's. To which Gregory Peck replied, "That's not a potbelly, Harper. That's great acting."
Brilliant.
And just to kind of keep on with Gregory Peck and the impact that he had, not only in this film, and we talked already about how Scout, the actress, they stayed in touch, but Brock Peters, who played Tom Robinson, he delivered the eulogy for Gregory Peck's funeral.
That's incredible.
And he talked about how Gregory Peck is Atticus.
And I love hearing stuff like that. I love hearing it, because it would be so sad to find out there's some scandal, like he was a huge racist or something. Oh no, Gregory Peck, no.
Yeah. And so Gregory Peck wasn't the first choice.
Interesting.
He was not the first choice for this. He had actually, when he was the fourth choice, and when he was offered, he read the book in one sitting and called the director and said, "I'm in."
Great.
But it was Spencer Tracy was one of the first, but his schedule wouldn't allow him
play a part.
do it. Rock Hudson, that was a Universal star at the time, and he wanted the role, but the director and the producer kind of passed on it. They had offered James Stewart the part too.
Jimmy Stewart would have done a perfectly great job. I think of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington even.
So when I was again doing my research, just kind of put a little stain on Jimmy Stewart. So he turned it down because he believed that the script was too liberal and feared the film would be controversial.
Well, I mean, he wasn't wrong.
No, he wasn't wrong.
But that's funny. I don't think this is the kind of movie I want to be a part of. Well, good. I'm glad Gregory Peck got it and became almost this standard of male lead in Hollywood. Like I can imagine there's decades worth of actors who just want to be the next Gregory Peck, based solely on this performance.
Well, and how many times has that happened where like we talk about a film and we say, oh, this was the actor that was first considered for it, but it didn't work out. And there's like a passing second where you're like, oh yeah, that could have.
Yeah.
But then like, no, like that character was perfect. Like John Belushi in Ghostbusters.
Sure. Yeah. Thinking, and I think it's telling that Gregory Peck was truly the right person to play this role in the relationships he maintained beyond the fact that him and Scout stayed in touch all throughout the rest of his life. That the actor Brock did the eulogy, that speaks so much to that just validates the choice. It echoes through history that when something is so right, and then you keep getting that validation all throughout history. Because Jimmy Stewart might have done a great job, but would he have stayed in touch with his little co-star? Like, who's to say? But the fact that it did happen this way just validates the choice, and that's that magic, that lightning in a bottle that can happen. A lot of times you think of the perfection of something like Back to the Future or the Avengers or whatnot, and those are blockbusters, but that magic, that lightning, that alchemy can still happen in something as small and as quiet and as powerful as something like this, To Kill a Mockingbird. Good kudos to the casting director and the producer and director for trusting that they had the right cast, that they had the right people to tell the story.
The right people to do it, yeah. So, I know that we, opening up, you talked about the child actors and so Mary Bedham and Philip Alford. After this film, they basically retired. Like, they were both so good, and neither one kind of chose to follow up.
Yeah, right, that's disappointing.
With
that's
acting.
Disappointing to hear because they were both so good at this.
Mary Bedham was 9 years old when she did this, and she was the youngest ever to receive an Oscar nomination.
Bravo! Even a performance that good today would elicit an Oscar nomination.
and she lost. She lost to a 14-year-old.
Who'd she lose to?
Patty Duke.
Patty Duke.
In The Miracle
See, it's
Worker.
not fair. There's 2 of her.
Yeah. Oh no, it wasn't for that one.
That's a TV show.
It's for The Miracle Worker.
Well, all right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just funny. Like, I mean, I know, like, acting for especially kids isn't, that they may choose not to do that, and many choose not to do that. But man, I can't imagine where a 9-year-old gets nominated for an Oscar and they're not, just pushed through us until they're forced to quit or become, go to some celebrity game, rehab thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, good.
So let's talk a little bit, ending up. Let's just talk a little bit. So Harper Lee came out with a second novel
just before her passing, correct?
Follow up on this one.
Yeah.
Right, just before passing. When you and I were talking about this film, you had said something about that the book kind of ruined that the second book ruined the first book.
Yeah.
So in the second book, and have you read it?
No, I read the articles when the controversy came out and that it was dropped and that it sort of was like contradictory to everything that the original stood for.
So in the second novel, Scout now is older. She's in college, and she's studying to be a lawyer like her dad. And so she goes undercover for a case she's researching, whatever, and infiltrates a Klan rally. And lo and behold, there's her dad
At the rally. Shut it down.
The rally,
Shut it down. I know people talk about IP and like creators getting to create, and like, no, there reaches a point where it doesn't belong to you anymore. Harper Lee, George Lucas, J.K. Rowling, let it go. You're done. We'll take it from here. Thank you.
So in the original book, there's kind of a passing line, and again, to put this in perspective, like the first book is written from a 9-year-old's perspective, basically. And there is a part where they ask their dad about the Klan, and he refers to them as a political organization.
I think he meant to say an evil group of evil people. But maybe I'm...
So even... yeah, so even... Yeah. But so even in the first book, like it's not really, it's mentioned, and the character of Atticus Finch in the book, while he may believe in justice and telling the truth and doing the right, that doesn't mean he's not racist or think is against white supremacy. And I think the film version of Atticus Finch is just kind of taken over the book version. Because I guess for again, I did look this up more because I wanted to get more of what the controversy was and just kind of understand it. Like, I can see why she waited so long to bring that out, just because of the presence that Atticus and this book, both of the books are based on her life.
Sure.
She was Scout.
Jeez. Well,
in the book, the friends that she's running around with, not her brother too, but the friend that joins, that's in real life. That's Truman Capote.
Really?
The author.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
Yes.
That's a fun fact.
That's her buddy running around that comes just for the summers.
I'm glad that he didn't have that voice.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's like this is so this his name is Atticus Lee, or Amansel A.C. Lee. Who in 1923 defended a black client that, again, it inspired this novel.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say he wasn't part of the Klan at one point.
Well, I'm glad the Gregory Peck version exists. I much rather would take the film version. And I suppose this is the art of adaptation, right? Like books to movie happen countless times. I couldn't even begin to tell you the number of books that have been turned into film. And that art of adaptation, staying true to the core of a piece of literature, is why there's a best adapted screenplay Oscar. Like, how do you capture literature on film? And taking the themes of To Kill a Mockingbird, translating it to the screen this well, so that the themes remain without all those minor details or major details that would contradict or harm the thesis of what the filmmakers are trying to do, is something to be regarded and appreciated.
I think even the book, though, I mean, it was, more or less a throwaway line that I'm sure, if Harper Lee knew at the time she's gonna do a follow up.
She might have hit it a little harder, I suppose.
That like, well, no, I mean, and who knows when she decided to write that, she may have written it right away and just sat on it because of everything that happened, and not wanting to ruin him. Yeah, and and she waited until her death because she knew what was going to happen. And again, to me it's like you put a line like that in there that you have to go back to the book and find it again. Because I think people reading the book, they're just going to go through that like, oh yeah, he's just explaining it to a 9-year-old. Like it's a lot easy. It's easy to tell a 9-year-old. It's a political organization. It's easy to do that instead of they like to do really terrible things like this and this and this. But then to look back and go, oh,
there's more to it than that. Oh no.
Yeah. That's kind of like, but yeah, I mean, I would imagine if that second book were out, you would have less actors that would want to be Atticus Finch. So I think to get a Gregory Peck to do it and have him win an Oscar from it,
that's good. That's good. Like leave it at that. Like when no one was asking for a sequel to Kill a Mockingbird, and the fact that she took decades to put it out is probably for the best because it would have tarnished this film's legacy had it come out not shortly thereafter.
Yeah. All right. So, I just have a couple fun things I'll share with you about
little
this,
fun facts to wrap up the show. I like
on an upbeat. Yeah. So, what is this film's connection to one of your favorite movies of all time, Back to the Future?
It's filmed on this Universal backlot.
And the courthouse, the exterior of the courthouse is the clock tower.
I thought so. And watching Scout and run around, I'm like, that looks like the backlot. I wonder if that's Universal. That's great. Yeah. Put a clock on there.
Yep. The piano and the score is played by none other than John Williams.
Really? Incredible.
Yes.
Holy cow. How young was he at that point? Let's see. He's 90 now, so.
He was still like 80.
Incredible.
He lives. And we've already talked about that this was Robert DeVille's first film, but it was also almost the first film for James Earl Jones.
Oh, to play Tom?
He tried for Tom.
Oh, he would have been quite good, but not that.
He would have been, but
Brock did it.
The actor who did play him was great, but I mean, this was very early in James Earl Jones's career. So
beautiful.
But yeah, So let me ask you, like we always. Do you feel that this film is essential?
I do. Yeah, I think I've already said it more than once. But as far as a child's perspective, the recounting of a pivotal moment, as I mentioned earlier, Stand By Me and A Christmas Story, Belfast, those exist because of a movie like this. And the courtroom drama as well, I feel, has a lot to thank this movie for starting. And not that there wasn't courtroom stuff before that, but to create something so engaging, so fascinating, to have this amazing character do what he does in the courtroom is also like you can see Atticus Finch in every courtroom drama that has been made since easily.
Yes.
And then just sociological as a sociological viewing, to watch this and hear the echoes of history, American history, through this film to this modern era. Yeah, absolutely. It's just a good movie, right? That we did Scarface, and we haven't done Casablanca on Citizen Kane on this show, but we've discussed it, and those are academic viewings. Those are not viewings that are necessarily entertaining to watch. This is genuinely an entertaining watch. So 100% essential. I'm hoping you agree.
Yeah, one element we haven't talked about at all is the director, Robert Mulligan. And we've alluded to this, but first of all, like, a lot of credit to him. So first of all, yes, I would consider this essential. If you want to do, if you want to learn courtroom drama, if you just want to do storytelling, which is what I want to focus on, because it is very difficult as a director, as a screenwriter, to not want to put all the details that you can out there for people to kind of see all the pieces and all that. We've talked about, like, the first two acts is all about the kids. You hear passing, some things about dad getting a court case, things like that, but you don't have many details on that. It's not until the third act that you really get into the details. And you're in the courtroom with the kids learning what this case is all about, what the dad has been working on. That to me is just a masterful storytelling. Yeah. I mean, how many directors, how many screenwriters would have cutaways so you saw some of the scenes before, or maybe they open with it, so it kind of leaves you kind of like, oh, what happened there? Yeah, like it took me a while. I'm just sitting there watching these kids running around going, I thought this was what movie? What's going? Did I get the wrong movie?
Have I been thinking of the wrong one this entire time?
Right. To kill an Oriole, not a Mockingbird? Did I get the wrong bird? What's going on? No, so yeah, I thought the way that the story progressed and the way that, like you said, Robert Mulligan using the cameras, looking up all the time, so you're getting it from the kid's perspective. Just doing that and making sure that Scout. I don't think there was any scene where there's anything done that Scout wasn't at least in earshot
or would have heard from her brother, right? Like Jim going with Atticus to Tom's family's home and getting to hear that from him. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That the child perspective.
Yep. One of the kids is there for everything. So there isn't any part of this that is Gregory Peck talking to
the deputy. Like, there's even the moment where he does get to talk to the deputy, and we get to see it from the kids, the distance of the kids, so we don't even get to hear a single word of what's being said. We just have to read the body language.
Right. And it's just masterful. Like, I don't know if there'd be directors with that patience today, or
not many.
It's very hard to hold back and just keep your audience contained so much. And I think the audience expectations now are different too. They want to know everything. So
no, great.
So it's essential, and you should watch it.
Absolutely, 100%. To learn from it and to be entertained by it. Infotainment. So.
Infotainment.
Yeah. Great addition to the Essential series, 100%. So I'm satisfied.
Absolutely. I'm happy. Yeah. So, well, thank you, TC, for joining
of course,
again.
Yeah.
Always enjoy these with you. And thank you again to Little Nero's fire starter kit.
Sorry, just using my fire extinguisher.
If you need to burn something quick, burn it out. And remember, when you order,
use
coupon
code Illogical.
Yeah. Illogical, and you'll get a free fiddle. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
All right, we'll see you next time, or hear you next. No, you'll hear us next time. Yeah,
you'll hear us. Yep, it's one way.
Thank you for listening to the Filmological Society. If you'd like to listen to similar podcasts, please check out 65 Media on Stitcher, iTunes, and Facebook. Or check out Redacted Media on Facebook and YouTube.